Welcome to Health Oddity, the show that strips away the jargon and hype surrounding all things health and fitness to help you live a long, strong and energetic life. Lining up at the bar this week, here's Peter Ladd and James St. Pierre.
Hello and welcome to the Health Odyssey podcast, episode 238. And today, Pete and I are going to be having a catch up and a talk about, what's going on, what's been going on with us last few weeks. Also some kind of broad topics that I want to kind of maybe delve into and talk to Pete about and around, which I think will be helpful they've been helpful for me. They've been helpful to me, and I'm sure they'll be helpful to you as well. And then next week, I will say already, we have got lined up with us next week a return guest, Gemma Wesson, who is from, it's Teesside, isn't it, Pete? I think, Gemma? Teesside?
Yes.
Yeah, Teesside, Middlesbrough kind of area, isn't it?
Yes.
Who had the unit gym. She has been on with us before, but has recently kind of created the Stronger Women Academy, and has kind of really clarified her direction and purpose. So we're going to be talking to Gemma again next week. That will be episode 239. But this week we got a few things to discuss and to catch up on. And talk around. And obviously last week we were joined by Paddy Haynes, who we really enjoyed talking to. And since then, because I've got all the captains of Crush in the gym, obviously, and people have been starting to do it, and I've been like, well, Paddy is a grip aficionado, and he doesn't really he doesn't really train on the I said to them that he said talking about the captains of Crush is the same. What did he compare it to? Asking someone
Bench press.
How much do you bench? He goes proper grip aficionados, train in different ways. But but that was a funny conversation. That was good. And I watched as well. I think I sent you a message, didn't I? I think it was whatever evening it was it maybe like Monday night or Tuesday night? I rewatched the Britain's Strongest Man with Steph.
Oh yeah,
The one that you were at. Yeah, so we
and you shared the Strong Woman thing as well. If anyone's not watched that with Chloe
yes, yeah,
Lucy and the other lady, I can't remember her name.
Andrea, yes, there's
Andrea, that's it.
Yeah, Chloe Brennan, who we've had on the podcast, Lucy Underdown, who we've had on the podcast, Andrea Thompson, who I'm going to message to try and get on the podcast. But it was the documentary called, I think it was called Strong Woman or Strong Women. I think it was Strong Women or Strong Woman, but it's the Giants Live documentary. It's just sort of 22 minutes or so, but a really good
documentary. It was just great because they've got three different stories of how they got into it, haven't they? Which is really nice. And there's obviously there's more than just them three, but that's just three different stories, which is great.
Yeah, it focused on those three. So that's available on YouTube. So if you just go onto YouTube, go onto the Giants Live channel, and that will probably be posted right at the top, or or if that will come up. But I thought that was really interesting, actually. That was really, really good. And like I say, Chloe, I don't know if I have said on here, but Chloe is going to be coming to Unique Results in Chelmsford in August. I think it's the 31st. I think it's the last Sunday in August, for a workshop that she's going to do with us, which is going to be great. But yeah, I also watched, because on the streaming thing that I sign up to, the official Strongman, it's got like lots of documentaries and videos that you can watch about training, and Steph and I watched it was a full kind of deadlift session with Chloe, and it was quite interesting because it was her warming up, it was doing all the accessory exercises, doing the deadlifts and talking about it and why she's doing it the way she's doing it, and it's really good. And I kind of say to Steph, I say, I'm glad, I'm really, because she actually enjoys watching it. She doesn't just watch it because I want to watch it, you know what I mean? So and she loves going to watch the shows live, the Giants Live that we go to every year. So it's really good that she's kind of into it as well, which is great. So
same with Sean. Like I said, after Britain's, the next morning she organised Giants Live in July, and Britain's next year in Sheffield next January or February or whatever it is. She's already booked it.
Yeah. So if anyone is going to go and watch the Giants Live show at the Royal Albert Hall in London on July I can't remember the date in July.
The 14th or something, isn't it?
Okay, it's a Saturday, isn't it? It's always a Saturday evening. But both Pete and I will be there watching. And
James is there in luxury, and I'm in the cheap seats at the top.
No, I'm not in luxury. I'm just in one of the kind of the not. But because we book it so early, we literally book it a year in advance. We can just choose exactly where we want to kind of.
Right. We might do that this time, I think.
Yeah. So but the Royal Albert Hall is a fantastic venue.
I've only ever been there once, and it was to see Primus. It was brilliant. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, so this will be a bit different, but this will be great. Yeah, so no, that's really good. So anyway, I mean, what have you been up to, Pete? Obviously last week we had Paddy on, and I did see you'd done a Rubik's Cube in 9 seconds.
Yeah, that was last night. I managed to get it on video. I was quite happy with that.
Yeah, okay, good.
Well, that's not related to anything.
I saw a video you put up. I'm not sure if you put it up or they put it up, but the video of your guys who came from London to do the walk bath from the
Mercher.
Yeah.
Honestly, they've been amazing. Again, we're not paid by them or anything. I just use their service. But yeah, they came to do the walk. I mentioned it last week or the week before or whenever on the podcast, didn't I? But yeah, they put a video together of them leaving London and coming on the walk and all that. But they also did an interview with me as well, and they've just sent us the videos for that. So they're going to put that up as well, and then I get all the footage and I can use it and stuff like that as well. So it's like, yeah, it's just another shout out to them, mercher.com, MERCHR. Absolutely amazing. Honestly, I'm blown away by the level of service you get from them. And it doesn't cost me anything. You know, it's one of those things. It's like a drop shipping thing. So you put your stuff on there. They'll obviously get a bit of money every time you sell something. You can put on how much you want to make per t-shirt or per item or whatever. And they've got the bottles, caps, beanies, clothing, like houseware. It's everything. It's amazing. So yeah, they did it. Yeah, they've done like basically lots of work for me, which is absolutely amazing. I'm blown away by it. That's proper customer service, that is.
Oh, so, that's fantastic. Yeah. And I did see, I think, that you looked like you had a cracking turnout on Saturday at Walk Bath.
Yes. So Saturday I think there was 43 people. And I wasn't even there. I was away for the weekend with Sean. So the most we've had is 42. So this was 43. And that was across 2 separate walks. So they all met up in the same place, but they were booked onto separate different walks. So one went that way, one went that way, and they did like 2 different walks. 43 people, and everyone had a great time. And so it ran smoothly without me being there. So there's a lady called Jill who kind of is now starting to oversee, because all the walks are in the app. They're all there as a template, and then you just go, right, this week we're doing that one, and you just plug it in at the time, and then this week, and then this guy's going to lead it, and then we'll also do this one as well, and this guy will lead that, or this lady will lead that, and then people just book. If they book one walk, it stops them booking the other one because they're both at the same time. So we can put on multiple walks with multiple walk leaders. So it's working out really well.
And what's going to happen, do you think, when my lot come down or come in June? Because potentially we've got about another 16, I think, that we're going to bring. I mean, will you do that as a separate walk?
Yeah.
With us? Will we? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that'll be the way. We'll just put 2 walks on, and people will lead those walks, and I'll say we're doing this, we're doing something. Because we might even do we'll go out for a bit longer, I think, because those guys will be doing the 2-hour walk, so we might do a 10-miler or something.
Yeah, because we want to be out kind of, I suppose, not most of the day, but, like maybe a bit longer, so yeah, that would be great. Yeah. And because I was going to say, because otherwise, potentially you could have about 60 people turning up.
That's fine though.
Yeah.
We at the minute we'll be able to handle 60 people because we could just put on 3 different walks with 3 different leaders. So, and as people come through and do more walks, we'll get more people who know the routes then, and then they can lead the walk. So it's great. I love it.
Oh, it's fantastic.
How have you been doing anyway? You've had Oli down to your gym.
Yeah, we had Oli Mell, friend of the show, who's been on twice. Oli Mell was down at my place, Unique Results in Chelmsford, Essex, on Sunday for a Kettlebell Sport Workshop that he's putting together. He's trying to get Kettlebell Sport kind of more, I suppose, structured and something that he can potentially put into like the school system, or have, like you say, like what you're doing with Walk Bath, I suppose. It's systemizing, isn't it? And it's getting maybe training put in place, and getting a process put in place. But he's part of the EKA, which is the English Kettlebell Association, and he's trying to put together like a level 1 certification or course for kettlebell sport, which is basically what he went through with us on Sunday. There was 8 of us doing it. And it was kind of like an overview of what kettlebell sport is and the techniques behind it, that are used in it. Sorry, and he went over kind of the traditional kind of snatch, and then the jerk, and then the double jerk, which is kind of the traditional biathlon. But then he talked about like the half marathon and the marathon and how that works, and then the pentathlon as well. So it was actually we did quite a lot of, I mean, it wasn't overly taxing, but it certainly kind of got me nice and warm. And we did sort of like, so we did like a pentathlon, for example, but we just did like a minute on, a minute off. So we did each of the 5 disciplines for a minute and then a minute rest. I think we did, the longest we did in one go was a 7-minute set, which was kind of to get you more, to feel like more of an endurance type set, you know. And I think, and you could choose what lift you did. So I did the half snatch for 7 minutes, just with like what did I use? I think it might have been like a 14 or a 16 kilo kettlebell, you know, and you can change hands as often as you want, but it's just getting the endurance stuff going. But no, that was excellent. And yeah, just a shout out to Ollie as well, because his gym, Wolfpack Fitness, which is up in Cheshire, is featured in Men's Health this month. Yeah, or I think it's might be the April edition, but I think it's out now.
The one with David Beckham on the front cover.
It's got David Beckham on the front. Yeah, that's the one he's in there. And it's quite nice because they're mentioned on the cover. It kind of says however many reps in 2 hours, and it says meet the people, or meet the man.
It doesn't say why.
Yeah, why? Yeah, taking
why
kettlebell training, taking kettlebell training to the next level kind of thing. So yes, that's really good, because he's been going for I think about 6 years in that location. He was explaining to me that he's on a kind of a derelict farm. Really, it's not a working farm now. And he's kind of rents the space there, and he's been there for about 6 years. So yeah, Men's Health came down. I think they did some videoing, they did some photographs, obviously interviewed him, and I've not seen it because I think it's literally either come out today or it's coming out. But he posted a post of the cover, didn't he, with David Beckham on the front. And they're in there. So yeah, congratulations to Oli Mell. And I think he's looking at trying to roll this out, this workshop that we did, the level 1, and then they're talking about having like a level 2 or a level 3 where it's more specifically targeted towards a specific event, and it's to do with coaching and all that sort of thing. But the level 1, I think, is very much an overview of kettlebell sport and everything that it has to offer. But no, it was good fun. Yeah, really, really good. Very, very different, obviously, from hard style and from strong first and that kind of thing, but really nice. And he did actually also use some of the hard style kind of drills and techniques that he said, like, as he said, like heavy two-hand swings with a single bell done in a hard style manner has got good crossover to kettlebell sport. We did some seated presses, like how you do those Z presses where you're sitting on the floor with your legs kind of open and you're pressing from a seated position just to take the legs out of it. We did that. We did loads of stuff. Yeah, it was good. Really, really enjoyable, actually.
I mean, obviously I wasn't there, but I think it's great because what I get from it is that he's putting together this workshop, this certification, everything. But after that, there's then the opportunity to either compete and compete at a high level, or compete at whatever level you're at, because it's all available, or just go along, like you can still like kind of compete, but on a participation basis as well. So there's something for everybody at the end of a certification or whatever. Is like, right now I'll go and find a local competition or a national competition or whatever. So it seems like there's the progression from it.
Yeah, and I think because Laura, friend of the show as well, Lauren Emery was there. She took part in the day as well, and a couple of my sort of trainers from the gym did it as well, and I did it. And then there was 4 or 5 others who'd signed up for it. And Lauren, I know, started kind of in pentathlon and did a good maybe a couple of years competing in that. Then she moved into doing the half marathon stuff. I think she might have even gone up to the marathon, but the more endurance stuff, the kind of 30 minutes, 60 minutes stuff. And now she's moving into biathlon, which is the 2 10-minute sets that you do, which is the 10-minute set of kettlebell snatches and the double jerks. So that's what he was saying. There's so many different avenues into the sport and ways that you can do it. So if you're more of an endurance person and you want to use a lighter weight for long periods of time, right up to they do this World Games, don't they? Which I think Ben Morris does as well, which is really heavy for 10 minutes. So it could be like a really heavy set of like jerks, I think, with like a 40-kilo kettlebell for 10 minutes, really heavy. And then you've got the kind of the pentathlon, which is kind of like a little bit of in between, because it's 5 different events, 5 different disciplines, 6 minutes work, 5 minutes rest, using all different kettlebells. So it's a really varied sport, which I think I think it's got the potential to really kind of have quite a broad appeal,
No, it is. It's like you say, it's great. It's like a whole Olympics in one, isn't it? Like you've got endurance, you've got outright strength, you've got marathon, half marathon. You like all of these things. I think it's amazing.
Yeah,
It's brilliant.
no.
Like that's why I say it's like it's really inclusive for pretty much everybody, isn't it?
Yeah, you can go in at whatever level you want to. And I think with most of the events as well, you can pick the weights that you want to use. Obviously, you get more points the heavier weight the heavier weights you use. I think you multiply the weight of the kettlebell with the number of reps you get. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a mathematical. There's quite a lot of strategy involved in terms of which weight you're going to use and how many times you can do it and whatnot. But no, yeah, it's really, really good. Yeah, very, very interesting. Definitely. And then I wanted to talk to you today really about, and we've not planned this in terms of had a conversation beforehand, but I just thought we'd see kind of what came up and where we went. But a few things that I've been listening to lately in terms of some stuff from Dan John actually, which I think we'll have to get. I was going to say we'll have to get Dan back on because we're on episode 238, and I don't think he's been on since episode 200, has he?
He's probably just been sitting with his feet up doing nothing, thinking like, they'll ask me in a minute. They'll ask me
getting withdrawal symptoms. Well, I did think that we'll have to get him on because what was what did I say? 52 times 5 is 160, wasn't it? Is that what? No.
Yeah. 260.
So yeah, we're on episode 238. So I said we'll have to try and maybe line him up for the 5-year anniversary, to make him feel special, one of the things he was talking about was bumpers, and I've had this. Actually, there's a few things. I'm going to make another note of something else I want to talk to you about. So we're doing this. About friction.
Doing this live on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
We're doing this live as we go.
On the podcast now. So we're talking through it. What he's doing is he's looking down and writing on his pad.
I'm writing a note just because I knew that there was something else I've been talking about with people, which was the concept of friction. So it was trying to remove friction from the things that you want to do more of and trying to add friction to the things you want to do less of, which we'll get to later. We'll get to later, but it's quite and everyone, although they might not know what the terminology I'm using. As soon as we start talking about it, you'll understand. It'll become clear.
Well, that'd be good because I don't understand. So
I'm waiting for that.
I can't. No, I can understand what you mean, but I don't know how you'd apply that.
Apply it. Yeah. So anyway, the first one was Dan was talking about, and it's not his concept. He mentioned I can't reference the book. I think there's actually a book called Bumpers, which he references. But it's this idea of because people talk, we've talked about it on the podcast before a lot, haven't we? About goals and goal setting and having goals. And I think that we've kind of between us and with the guests that we've had on, kind of come to the realization, conclusion, whatever, that this kind of notion that you have to always have a goal that you're working towards, a very concrete goal, a very tangible, finite goal, works for some people, but it's not necessarily essential for everybody. You know, if you're moving in the right direction towards something for the long term, then that is sometimes good for people as well. But this concept of bumpers and the way he kind of describes it is, you know, like if you go 10-pin bowling and you're not very good, or you're 10-pin bowling with a teenager, with a toddler, and you lift up the little guardrails at the sides, and they can roll the 10-pin ball down the alley, and it kind of bounces off the bumpers side to side, and then eventually it will take down one or more of the pins at the end. So it's almost having a range of something that you're trying to stay within, and you may have like an upper limit and a lower limit that you're willing to accept. And another thing that we're going to talk about is standards rather than goals potentially. But he was talking about, and I talked about it, I think maybe last time we talked, of if you've got, like, say for example, a range that you're happy for your weight to be between, you know what I mean? So your body weight, and that might be, you know, a 3 or a 5 or a 10 kilo range. So you've got a lower level, a lower bumper and an upper bumper, and you want to kind of stay between them. And if you're between them, you're kind of quite happy. But if you start bumping against the upper one, you then need to make some changes to maybe move yourself away. And if you go past the lower one, then maybe the same might happen the other way. So and I was thinking about all the ways that can be applied. Obviously, body weight for people who are trying to maintain a certain level of body weight, if you like, but also maybe frequency of training, in terms of, you know that you maybe want to train somewhere between 4 and 6 times a week, or between 2 and 4 times a week, or whatever the lower level is, and whatever the upper level. Sleep is something else that I would use, in terms of, I set myself a minimum of 7 hours sleep a night, so if you think, well, maybe if I can get between 7 and 9, so you've got a little bit of a range there you want to try and keep to. But how does that relate to you, Pete? Do you think that's a concept that you use, or that people and people you work with use?
Yeah, I mean, I try and do 3 strength training sessions a week. I do 3 strength training sessions a week. My weight is between 72 and 76 kilos, pretty much all the time.
So that's quite nice, though. That's like a 4 kilo. That's kind of like a 9 pound swingometer, if you like, isn't it? You know what I mean? So it's not really tight. You're not trying to really micromanage it on a tight level, but you've got that. So what happens? So what did you say? 72 and 76?
Yeah.
So what happens if you get to 76? What happens? What do you do?
I'll just, the funny thing is, actually, the way I look at it now, so I'm now, with training, I'm stronger than I was, so I'm using heavier weights. So I'm more likely to need to eat more to be able to train, because I got to a point where I was back down towards 72 and the heavier weights were feeling heavier. So I was like, right, I need to eat more. So I started eating more, and I went back up to 75 and a half, like within about 3 days.
Yeah.
But I had loads more energy. So that was like, right, okay. And then I've kind of just stayed there, and my energy's been okay. But if it ever comes down, my energy was down last week, and I missed a couple of training sessions and I had a chat with Paul about it, and he said there's been stuff going around, and people have been saying they're tired, and then but the train through it and then fall off a cliff. So I was like, I'm having a couple of days off. So yeah, if I get up towards 76, but I'm feeling good and I'm feeling strong, I'll stay there. But then if
the knicker elastic isn't folding over,
and if the knicker elastic isn't folding over, so that's one of my metrics. We've used this before. That's one of the metrics. It's a thing though. And then sleep, I don't even worry about, because I go to bed at the same time every night.
And what time is that for people?
About 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
I've just put my thumb up for some reason.
Yeah.
So there you go. 10 o'clock, and then I wake up at like different times depending on what the day is, but it's the same time on a weekly basis. What else did you say? Food, like eating food wise, I don't eat the same meals, but I eat the same times pretty much every day. and I kind of cycle through certain recipes and stuff. Like days I'm not training, I'll have a different breakfast to the day I am training. You know, but still like lots of protein and stuff like that. So I don't have a protein target. I just eat as much protein as I can. Because if I have a target, then I'm like, I don't know, I might get towards it.
Again, that's another example of something that you could use bumpers for, isn't it? You could say, for example, right, I'm going to try and get, because, you know, it might be, I don't know, quite a broad one as well. It could be, well, I'm going to get between 100 and 150 grams a day, or between 80 and 100 grams a day, or whatever. So you're not kind of, you know, you're using that bumper kind of idea for that as well. You could do.
I suppose I use that per meal. I just make sure, like this morning, I had some yogurt, and I think I had 400 grams of yogurt, which is 40 grams of protein, plus other stuff. So I've definitely had enough. You know what I mean? So, and usually it's eggs and stuff like that. But what I like about the bumpers thing is it doesn't matter what it is, right? So walking, I'll get, what do I get? Like 100,000 steps in a week. Probably more, in fact, probably like 125,000 or something like that, which is a lot, but that's what I do for fun. But some weeks I won't, but then another week I'll get more. So it averages out, you know what I mean? So, or if I'm getting towards the end of the week and I'm like, you know, I'm not necessarily going to hit it this week. I'll just go out for a longer walk on the Sunday if the weather's nice and what have you. But what I like about the bumpers thing is, like what you said earlier, is it doesn't matter. If you go outside the bumpers, you're going to hit nothing. But if you stay within them, you're going to hit something. If you bang in the middle, I mean, bowling's the wrong thing for this, because if you bang in the middle, you don't hit all the pins. You don't get them all down. They've got to be slightly to the side, haven't you? You've got to be one board over. But I know this. But like,
is that from watching Kingpin and the
watching Kingpin, yeah,
and the Big Lebowski, yeah,
because I watched the Big Lebowski the other week. I love that film. It's a great film. But yeah, it's like if you're within the bumpers, you're going to hit something. So whatever your target is, as long as it's within those 10 pins, you're going to hit some of them, if not all of them. And that's why it works really well.
And I suppose that kind of leads on to then this concept of, and I think there is a place for definite goals sometimes, but I don't know if because for example, I've signed up for I've got two strongman comps this kind of spring into summer, I suppose. One's in, we just signed up for one on the 4th of May, and then also got one, I think, on the 8th of June. So for those, you have 5 events at each one, and then you know exactly what the events are in advance, you know what you have to lift, you know, so you've got something very tangible, very specific, where you're training towards something with a date, with a deadline, with a day of competition. But outside of that, I think you don't necessarily, I mean, so you kind of peak for a goal or you reach a goal, but I like the idea of having standards for yourself, you know, like, and again, that can be related to any element of life. It doesn't necessarily have to be just around training, but the idea of, rather than having goals, having standards that you maintain and that you hold yourself to, I think is quite powerful as well, especially, you know, we're both similar age, you know, 46, 47, 48, something like that. And people that we train, you know, that I train, certainly in their 50s and their 60s and their 70s, you're not always going to be working towards a competition or a race or a certification or something like that, but you just want to maintain the best quality of life that you can. So in that way, I think that standards are quite nice to have, you know, to keep, again, as a way of keeping you on track and keeping you kind of honest, I think, you know.
I think it's all of this is basically just thinking about it. Because I think most people just breeze through, like not breeze through, but just kind of stumble through life. Get up in the morning, like I've said it before, get up in the morning, have a shower, like grab something, jump in the car or whatever, get the train, they're at work, and then they get home, and then, you know, and it's kind of like, it's just, and then it's like, oh, another week's gone by, when's holiday? And that's, I mean, that's most people, isn't it? And it's like, if you just stop and if you stop and take a little bit of time to think, what am I doing? What do I want? And all of this sort of stuff. And it doesn't all come out. It doesn't happen like you sit down for an hour and go, right, what do I want? You figure it out and it's done. Because even if you try and sit down and think, you're not going to think about the thing, which I find a lot of as well. I do that. I still do it now. I'll be like, right, this is what I've got to do this week. So I'll sit down and have a think about the thing that I've got to do. And then I get frustrated. So I'll go for a walk and then I come back with the answer.
Yeah. Well, you start thinking about something else, which kind of,
or you specifically think about something else because you don't want to do the thing. So you're like, I'm going to specifically think about this thing over here because it takes me away from it. So it's good to have, just be thoughtful about it. And all of these things are that you don't have to do. You don't have to do the bumpers thing. You don't have to. I don't do all of this stuff necessarily, or I don't think about it in that way necessarily, but I do still do it, just in a different kind of way. So it's find your way and then be consistent with the process. So you can set a goal, but like you've said, you've got your competitions. There's bugger all you can do about what you're going to do on that day of the competition, apart from what you do in the run up to the competition. And if you don't think about it, you might end up knackering yourself out and having no energy on the day. So you've got to think about it and program it and all of that. And you can do that with everything, like absolutely everything. But it's a skill that most people don't even know that they have. Because they're like, it sounds too easy. They're like, well, why would I do that? Because I'll just fail because I fail at everything. And it's like, well, if you think that, you probably will anyway. So, start small. And then build, like, I don't know, there's all these books, isn't there? What is it? Atomic Habits and all of this sort of stuff. It's just start off with something that you can do and you can stick to. So the bumpers thing is really good, because you get people who wake up one morning, don't they? And all of us, they're like, oh, I've put 10 stone on. How did that happen? It's like, it didn't happen overnight. That's happened over the last 10 years. You just walked into it and you didn't realize, So,
yeah, because I had a conversation with a member last week on Friday, and we've been kind of just checking her weight every Friday, just as a, not putting loads of pressure on, but just because she said, well, this is kind of, again, this bumper, this area of, well, I really want to be between, say, 70 and 73 kilos. Yeah, would be that. So it's a 3 kilo, swingometer, if you like, which is about half a stone. And then she came in last week and said to me, oh, this, she goes, it feels like I've just been maintaining it for a while. And we had a conversation. I said, yeah, but that's because you have been maintaining it for a while. You haven't been doing what is required to shunt it down. But I mean, she's sitting at around that kind of 72, 73. And so if you want to go down to 70 or 71, you're going to have to do some stuff different and, eat slightly differently and increase your steps and all the rest of it, and just be more mindful of what you're doing. But you're just kind of sitting and maintaining that fairly comfortably. So if you want to say, well, I'm just going to stay between 70 and 73, then that's fine. And then she said, well, do we need to weigh in every week now? Or because I'm kind of maintaining it, could we do like once a month? And then we had this conversation. And I said, I personally, I weigh myself every Saturday. And that's not because I'm obsessed with being a certain weight. It's almost just so that I keep on track of it and on top of it. And in 1 week, things don't change much, you know what I mean? But you get you would get an indication of a trend one way or the other, which is how I knew that I'd hit my upper bumper of 90 kilos, in my mind. Because I said, the thing is, if we do it every week and you just check and you're between that 70 and 73, that's great. But if you don't do it for a month and you come back and you're like 75, then you're 2 kilos over the top bumper, and then it's a bigger, you know what I mean? So it was just this kind of idea of
but you also might not know why.
Yeah,
because you've got a month's worth. You've got a month's worth to go back through. Whereas if it's in a week, you'll go, oh yeah, that's because this week I had this party and I did this and I ate that and I did. That'll be why. Yeah,
yeah. And like you're saying, you can quite easily, if it's literally just shifting by half a kilo, you can easily, like you've mentioned before, just make a little change to what you're having for breakfast, a little change to something else, do another 2,000 steps a day, and you're kind of on top of it. But
there's this funny thing of things have to change as well, right? So I don't know who this person is who you're talking about, but it's quite funny. I want to be between 70 and 73. Okay, right. I've been between 70 and 73 for months now. What do I need to do? It's like, well, nothing, because what you're doing is working, right?
Yeah.
So what you mean, like, there's two things there. You can either well, no, there's one thing there. Are you happy with being between 70 and 73, or has that changed and you want to be between 68 and 71? Do you know what I mean? Because like, if you're at 71.5 for 3 years, and you think that's where your bumpers are, and that doesn't make you happy, or that's not what you want, then your bumpers are in the wrong place, aren't they? So you need to move them. Because then it's like, well, no, because like actually what I meant was I wanted to be like round about 70. It's like, well, make them 68 and 72 then. And then you'll probably end up at 70. And then,
No,
but also if you are happy at 71.5, why does it need to change?
Yeah, I think because I think this is the thing, isn't it? We're kind of, I say I don't know if it's true, programmed to, or the way that we think about, the way that certain people, if you're used to training and you're used to exercising, you're used to working towards goals a lot, you're always looking to kind of improve something, whatever improve means, aren't you? You're not really ever, people find it hard just to kind of take that maintenance is success. You know what I mean? You don't have to always be getting stronger or getting lighter or getting heavier if that's what you want to do. It's like if you get to a stage that it's almost like how much is enough, when are you happy, like if you're constantly looking to change or get stronger or get lighter or get faster, or because there is this, I mean, it's a bigger topic now. Obviously, there is an inevitable decline as you get older. After a certain amount, we've spoken about it so many times. You can drastically slow the decline, and you can actually avoid the decline. But eventually, you're not going to be as strong and as fit as you were in your 30s when you're in your 70s. It's kind of eventually time is going to catch up with you. So then that's the whole thing about recalibrating what success means. Does it mean and Fabio, I think, talked about this, didn't he? About maintaining his strength, like every 5 years or every 2 years. If he can lift what he could 2 years ago, that to him is success. He's not going to constantly be getting stronger because, as Paul McElroy said, he's been jacked since the 80s. You know what I mean? He's not going to keep getting better.
Well, I am the way I think about that now is it doesn't matter because I know that I've got enough strength. I could have more. I could have way more, but I could have way less as well. And I used to have way less. And how do you know that you've got stronger? You test it, but you don't need to test it. You can just know it. It's that thing of, I know that I am, but I don't have to prove it, because proving it takes away from the process. Because then you have to, because like, it's like what Paul said, wasn't it? Anytime demonstrating your strength takes, how does he phrase it?
Every session spent testing your strength is a session that you lose building your strength or something.
Something like that. So actually, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
So that is the question: how much is enough? When is enough? And I suppose you could take that from finances. People who like chase more money all the time. Need to get a bigger job to pay for a bigger mortgage, to have more responsibility. And when is enough? You know what I mean?
Here's the thing. I was listening to I was listening to somebody the other day. Who was it? I can't remember. But it was about like, a billionaire friend who's only got 1 billion, who's hanging around in a room with people with 20, 30 billion, and they feel like the poor one. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, it's just because of the people you hang around with. And there was the thing of, it was Rory Sutherland I was listening to. He's a marketing guy. And he was talking about the average. So say you've got a football stadium, right? And the amount that he talks about marketing and selling things to people and all that. So the amount that people earn in that stadium, right? The average could be whatever it is. But if Bill Gates walks into that stadium, all of a sudden the average person in there is a millionaire.
Yeah.
Just by the amount of money because he's way above everyone else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you'll have experienced this a lot in the like over the years and more recently as well. Is pretty much the people who I spend time with or spend time listening to, talking to, and all that are way bigger than me, taller than me, stronger than me, got more experience than me, all of that. And it's like, so I could spend my whole life thinking like, right, now I've got to be as strong as that person. I don't care. I don't want to be. I just like spending time with people like that because they're inspiring about how they've got there and what they've done, like lifting the Dinny stones and all that. It's like, I could set that goal. And it's like, yeah, I could, but like, why? That's not going to help with my walking business, is it? So, and it's like, or it might do from like, I'm setting this goal, but it's not something I want.
I suppose
So
it's to use a quote from Paul McElroy, the rising tide raises all ships. Just by being around people, it doesn't mean you have to be you strive to be the same as them, but being around people who are trying to improve themselves all the time, whether that be in strength, health, fitness, business, relationships, personal development, whatever, it helps you to kind of have the ambition to improve yourself, but whatever that means. It doesn't mean you have to be the same as them. I know that from doing this, from when I go to the dinner once a month, for a few days after that, because you've been talking to people about what they're doing, and it kind of almost just it opens your eyes to what's possible a bit more, and it also helps you dream a bit bigger, whatever that means to you, and it might be like you've mentioned before, like growing walking solves to become like national and international and that sort of thing. So it's not necessarily that you're trying to replicate someone else's version of success, but your mind opens up to the possibilities of, I could play a bit bigger here, or I could think a bit differently here, or whatever it is. And I think that that's really good, because so they do say, that whole you're the, what is it, that you're the average, you're the average of the 5 people you hang around most, or something like that. It's not necessarily means you've got to earn the same amount of money as someone else, or you've got to have 100 staff, or you've got to whatever. But it just kind of raises your ambition, I suppose, and how you want to improve yourself, and whatever that means to you.
So there's another kind of, is it another side to it? There's another aspect to that, or a way that I look at it, because somebody said this to me once as well. Because there's lots of people I've known over the years who are the people who can walk into a room and just bring everyone the fun sponge.
Yeah.
Who can just walk into a room.
The mood hoover, or
you can feel, you can almost feel, it's like Lilith on Frasier or whatever, when the plane's coming in and like Daphne gets a headache and the dog goes and hides under the sofa and what have you. And it's like there's this presence when like some people walk in, and I've known people like that over there. I've probably been that person, like not as often as like some people, but like everyone's been that person, right? But it was Brian Grasso who coaches me on like lots of stuff to do with business and building walk bath and everything. It was like, just be the person who goes in and lifts the mood. Why not? And it's like, so being in a room full of people who might be having a bad day or whatever, but you walk in as the person who's not like, look at me, I'm happy all the time and all that, but just goes and sees someone who might be and like asks them, talks to them, engages with them, brings them out of themselves, whatever. Like there's, you walk into rooms and you see people sitting in a corner and they don't know who to talk to and what have you. It could be a networking event, it could be whatever. And all they need is just someone to say hello and ask them a question, and then they'll tell you, but they don't want to go up and instigate. So that's what we do with the walking groups is, people turn up and we'll make sure everyone's seen. I still do everyone's name at the start. And I've got to remember like 40 odd names, but somebody said to me, like, it's great because it makes you feel like, that I'm there. It's like, exactly. That's exactly why I do it. And what it does is raises everybody up. So even if people do turn up and the weather's crap and they're having a bad day, it brings their mood up to your, or towards your level of your enthusiasm for it. So you'll know that from doing spin classes and gym classes. I bet you Oli was enthusiastic as hell because he loves it, and the kettlebell sport thing and teaching it to other people and everything. And even if he's having a bad day, he will show up and have enthusiasm to show everybody it, because it's like, that's how it needs to be. And it's not being like a false positive or whatever. There's people who like project being happy all of the time. It's like, no, I'm just talking about having energy all of the time. Protecting your energy. It doesn't mean you're happy that in that particular instant. It just means you've got energy for the thing you're doing because it's going to help. So that's kind of similar to hanging around, like the people who you hang around with bring you up. It's the same thing. Hang around people with high energy, high positive energy, and you're more likely to become a positive person, aren't you?
Yeah. No, it's great, and I think the idea that I was going to mention, we'll start to wrap up soon, but this friction model as well.
Yes,
So
I was going to ask you about that. I mean,
we've talked about bumpers, we've talked about standards. So friction, I was talking to someone about the other day, and it's kind of so if you want to do something more, so say an easy one that everyone will understand. Like if you want to go to the gym after work, and you have to come home first, and it's January and it's raining and it's cold and it's dark, and you have to come home first and then get yourself changed and get all your stuff and then go back out to the gym. That takes a lot of willpower to do that. But to remove some friction from that, and to actually make it more likely, you might, it's an old sort of cliche, an old bit of advice. You might have your gym kit in the car so that you literally drive to the gym on the way home from work and you've got the kit in the car, and then you don't have to go home first. So you remove that potential barrier to doing it. So you've removed the friction from that, which makes it more likely that you'll do it. In the specific example I was talking to someone about the other day, we were talking about like the ice baths and things like that. And I said that I got my ice bath is like a permanent ice bath, and it's got a chiller attached to it. So it's cold all the time and it's always filled with water. So anytime I want to, I just take the lid off and get in it, and it's ready to go, you know? But because I know that if I had to start taking bags of ice out there and emptying, 3 or 4 kilos of ice into it and then letting it cool down for 20 minutes and then getting in it, it's just more friction that's more likely to stop me from doing it. You know what I mean? So you kind of remove the friction to enable yourself to do it. The other one that you spoke about and we speak about on here, even going to a gym is friction for people. But if you've got a habit and you build a habit of just having your training shoes or your walking boots by the front door, and if you've got to do a half an hour, you can literally just go to your front door, put your shoes on, go out and do the half an hour and you're back. That's low friction, Another one with the reason why people get a lot of takeaways, or convenience foods and Deliveroos and all that kind of thing, it's because they maybe get in from a day's work and they're tired, and then the last thing they want to do is start preparing a meal at 6 o'clock in the evening when they're knackered, and it's going to take them half an hour to prepare it and half an hour to cook it. Whereas you pick up a phone, or nowadays you even go on an app and you just order the food to be delivered. There's no friction there. But to remove the friction from doing your own food, you might do something like batch cooking. So you've got food that's literally just got to be popped in the microwave and it's ready in 5 minutes from you walking in the door. So we just had this conversation around friction. So ways that you can remove friction for the things that you want to do more of, but increase the friction from the things that you want to do less of. So for example, if you really wanted to buy a chocolate, but you don't have chocolate in your house, so if you really want it, you maybe have to get yourself changed, go out the front door, walk to the shop 10 minutes away, get the chocolate bar and bring it back and eat it. If you really, really want the chocolate bar, you might walk to the shop and get it, which is fine. But it's going to stop you just reaching for it like willy-nilly, you know what I mean? Like
at least you're getting some steps in before you eat.
You're getting some steps in as well. So no, it's just this idea of that. So just it was quite. I just thought it's quite nice because because one thing I didn't actually end up doing it, but and I don't really drink very much now at all. But at one stage, I thought about like at Chris. I don't know if but at Christmas I sometimes get given like a few crates of beer. You know what I mean, like IPAs or ales or something like that. And then if I've got them, I will drink them. Not all in one day, but over the course of maybe like 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, I might have like one every couple of days. And if they're in the fridge in the house, then I certainly would. But I played with the idea of having a fridge out here in the outdoor office, with drinks in. So if I wanted one, I'd have to, get the key, unlock the back door, unlock this, come in here, get one, go. It's not a huge amount of friction, but it's enough friction that I wouldn't get one unless I wanted it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was just playing with those ideas really. And I think that one thing that's just, I've just thought about it, that really does remove friction or make it easier for people to do stuff is having a training partner to train at the gym, or doing a group class with the community, or, like your guys on a Saturday morning. Sometimes they'll probably wake up, and if it was just them going for a walk on their own, they might be like, oh, can't be bothered today. But actually, there's going to be like 20 or 30 other people there, and I'm really good friends with a few of them now, and we'll have a nice chat. So that removes a layer of friction and makes it more likely for them to do it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting because this exact thing would have happened on Monday. So this kind of goes with how people would term it as like procrastination and stuff like that as well. Like if you go home before you go to the gym, you're likely to find things to do.
Sack it off. Yeah, yeah.
Because I've had this as well. We've been away on holiday, like been away for the weekend or for a few days or whatever, and it's chucking it down with rain. And we're going out walking and stuff, and it's like, oh man, it's just raining every day. Should we just go home? But if you go home, you find things to do. If you're away and you're in a cottage somewhere and it's chucking it down outside, you'll still be like, oh well, we can still relax and watch a film. If we went home, we wouldn't watch a film. We'd end up doing some cleaning or emptying the dishwasher or whatever. So there's that sort of thing. But it happened on Monday because I was like away at the weekend. I went to a gig on Sunday night up in Birmingham. I got the train back, and as soon as I got back, I had to take the dog out for a walk because Sean was at work and he hadn't been out yet. So I literally, but it was sunny. So I got in, stuck the lead on him, and went straight back out again because it was a lovely day. And I had 2 hours. I got home about 2:00, and I was meeting the directors of the company at 4:00 for a meeting. But if it had been raining, I would have got in and went, I'll just empty the dishwasher first, and I'll just, I've got a quick email to send or whatever, and Sid wouldn't have got a walk. So it's like all little things like that, and this is the thing. Once you're somewhere where you've got distract yourself, it's something that you're not used to doing. But that whole thing about, I mean, my parents used to have a chest freezer in the garage, right? And that's where they kept the bread, right? This is weird. This is weird. I know this is weird, people. I know it is, but this is how it was more my dad. So rather than it was the 80s and you didn't like wasting food and all that sort of stuff. So we used to have to go and get the bread out of the freezer in anticipation that would want some bread later on, right?
Yeah. And take off 1 or 2 slices or whatever. Yeah.
And take a sliced bread, open the packet, take out how many slices you want, take them back into the house, lock the garage door as well, all of this stuff, right? You have to take the key out, open the garage door, get past the car because that was in the way and all of that. Get the slices you want, get back in, let them defrost, all of that, right? How much bread did I used to eat when I was a kid? Hardly any. Absolutely I know that's weird, but that's a huge amount of friction, especially in Newcastle in January in the 80s when the snow was up to your armpits.
But that's the other thing. We're just talking about, thinking about food, and like I mentioned the takeaways and like you used to have to ring up, and not everywhere did takeaways anyway, but you'd have like a Chinese takeaway or an Indian takeaway or whatever, and you'd phone them up and you'd give your order over the phone, wouldn't you? You know what I mean? And then you'd go and pick it up 15 minutes later or whatever. Now with these apps and things, very cleverly, they've removed so much friction, haven't they? From the process, and actually from a marketing point of view, to actually help. And that's the way they've removed friction to actually encourage your behavior to eat more of that stuff, to make them more money and all the rest of it from a business point of view.
That is amazing. Think how much money companies spend on removing friction to sell you the stuff that you don't really necessarily want or need, but you're going to buy it anyway.
Even online shopping, Amazon, all that stuff. Yeah, how easy.
Like even not even online shopping anymore. Places like Zara's just opened up in town a year or two ago, and there's not even any. There's a security guard on the door, and that's it. You serve yourself in a clothes shop. You try them on, you pay for them, you leave.
Yeah.
There's not even anyone in there to help you out, really. As far as I know, I don't know. I've never been in there, but that's what I've been told. Do I look like a shop in Zara? I only buy my own merch these days. But anyway, but that's interesting. Like the amount of money that is spent on taking friction away from things that they want to sell to you. So imagine how because people might say, "Oh, it all sounds very simple," but how that is hugely powerful. Have a look around your house at the amount of crap that you've got that you just never use or you don't want, or that, like the weights that are stashed under the bed or whatever, because you bought them because you could just click and buy rather than join a gym. So think about how powerful it would be if you could apply that to lots of like what all the examples you've just given there, James, about like beers in the fridge, in the garden and stuff like that. It's like,
or even you were going back to the 80s, talking about you growing up, the friction required to change a TV channel at home.
You know what, right? Right, this would have been, I was still living at home, but I was old enough, so I'd got hammered the night before. Probably got in about 4 o'clock in the morning. I was lying on my bed, and the 10 Commandments was on the telly, and I watched it all through my eyelids because I was half asleep, half awake, but I couldn't be bothered to get up and change the channel
before the remote control. Yeah,
it's like a 4-hour epic.
It's Charlton Heston, is it? I mean, it's Charlton Heston in it. The 10 Commandments. Yeah, hearing me. Anyway, well, that's a good break. That's good. Yeah. So so things to take away: bumpers, standards, and friction. 3 things to think about from that conversation there. Which is, it's nice to talk about these things. It's the kind of things that I talk to members about. I talk to people while I'm training them and things. And they're all applicable, however you choose to use them or not use them in your life. But no, that's great. That's really good. Cool. Okay, so we will be back next week for episode 239. Like I said, with Gemma Wesson next week. We're lining up some other guests as well at the moment who will be on over the coming weeks. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Please, if you do not yet subscribe to us on YouTube, go onto YouTube and do that. And also go on to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review on there. And then we'll read out the review on here and send some merch out to you. Thank you so much, Pete.
Thank you.
Brilliant. And we will be back next week for episode 239 with Gemma Wesson. Until then, goodbye.
You've been listening to Health Odyssey with Peter Lant and James St. Pierre. To get your regular fix of hype-free health, you can subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can find out more on today's and other topics at healthodyssey.com or find us on Facebook or Instagram by searching for Health Odyssey.